Namaskar and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us live. I am Diviya Mehra, your host and founder of Educational Connect with DM, a platform where meaningful, learningful, practical conversations and inspiring journeys come alive. In today's session, it is not just about choosing a course, it's about choosing a global career path. Because in today's world, boundaries are shrinking, but global challenges are expanding. And that's where one field becomes more relevant than ever: international law. So, if you ever wondered how does the world function globally, what happens when the countries disagree, who decides what is legal in global conflicts, can I work with UN, human rights organizations, or international courts? Then trust me, you're at the right place at the right time. Today's session is more about understanding international law, its career, scopes, and opportunities. Friends, when we talk about international law, we are not just talking about a subject that stays inside a classroom. We're talking about the law that governs global peace, conflict, human rights, war crimes, international trade, investment, climate agreements, diplomacy, and treaties. From Russia to Ukraine conflict to climate negotiations, refugee crisis, trade disputes, international law is shaping the world decision every single day. So, if you're someone who wants a career with global impact, international law is not just a specialization, it's a global gateway. So, today's session, what all does it offer you? In today's conversation, we will be exploring what international law actually means, who can study it, and how, the scope of international law in India as well as abroad, careers in research and academia, how students can build up a roadmap from school to global legal roles, and of course, a live question and answer session with our audience. So, dear friends, keep your notebooks ready because this session will give you clarity, direction, and career confidence. Now, to guide us through this powerful conversation, we are joined by a legal academic who is not just a highly accomplished but also a deeply committed to academic leadership and research excellence. Friends, it's my honor to introduce our esteemed guest for today, Mrs. Aditi PD Sinha. Mrs. Sinha is a legal academic researcher and a certified mediator with an over a decade of experience in legal education, research, and academic leadership. She is currently serving as a faculty and convener ADR at the Presidency University School of Law, Bangalore. She has previously played key leadership roles, including the head of research, publications, and higher studies at the Indore Institute of Law. She holds an LLM from Queen Mary University of London and has submitted her PhD at the Xavier's Business School and St. Xavier's University, Kolkata. Her expertise spans private law, research methodology, interdisciplinary legal studies, and she's widely invited as a resource person for research methodology and faculty development programs. Not just this, Mrs. Sinha is also the author of two books and has actively contributed to institutional collaborations, international conferences, and research capacity building. Her journey is a proof that legal education is not just about degrees, it's about developing a mindset of justice, research, and global awareness. So, audience, let's us welcome scholar, mentor, and global legal educator, Mrs. Aditi Prasad Sinha.
Hello, welcome guests. The pleasure is
Hello,
absolutely
ma'am.
mine. That
Thank you
was
so
quite
much,
an
ma'am.
introduction, Divya. Thank you so much for it.
It is an honor, ma'am. And with an expertise in research and publication, I think today's session is going to be really enriching for the students because
Thank you. I'm very
it's
upset.
one of the topics that remains unaware to many of the children, and yet it's very interesting for them to know a lot of things that is happening globally also. So I think we are really looking forward to hear from you. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Now to introduce, why don't you just push in for the first one, or let me just give a brief introduction about
So,
what
ma'am,
international law is.
let's talk a little bit about your journey. So, what
Okay.
made you choose international law as a specialization as a career path? I think that's really important for the audience to know in the beginning.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Well, after doing an undergraduate degree from Symbiosis International University, Pune, that was about way long, but Symbiosis was only there in Pune and it had not branched anywhere else. What I was looking for was a good degree, a good academic degree. So I waited for about 2 to 3 years. I did some work, gathered work experience, and I got in touch with one of my seniors who had previously gone abroad and pursued the same. But unfortunately or fortunately, though, I got in touch with the official university representatives of most of the prestigious universities across not just UK but also United States of America. And through them, I was lucky enough to get an offer from Queen Mary University of London, School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, Kingston University, University of London, University of Southampton. And when I checked their rankings, the world rankings, the QS world rankings, I found out that Queen Mary University of London is one of the best to offer. Precisely, it used to be at that time one of the top 10 in UK. Although, if you can check the QS World Ranking, it will come within top 50 or top 100. You can check that as well. So, when we
It's
went
really
over
nice.
there, the scenario abroad is totally different. The scenario over there is that the student is given an opportunity to audit various streams and various courses. Out
Oh,
of the
wow.
same, it is your duty to choose any three modules. Say, for example, if I choose a commercial law specialization for my Master of Laws, I'll have all these specialization, all the modules that are run by Queen Mary University of London for the very set course, which can be 20 to 40. It can be any number because they run a lot of specialization modules for one particular thing. So, out of the same, I decided because I had a primordial interest in international commercial contracts and commercial law, I decided to specialize in commercial and corporate law, taking international commercial comparative arbitration, which is just one of the branches of alternative dispute resolution. And alongside, I took company law after auditing, which was taught to me by Professor Alan Dignam, whose book is generally studied over here by Oxford University Press, and international trade law, who was taught to me by Professor A.G. Raymond, who's also there at one of the UN working papers for ODR. So I was very, very lucky that the modules that I chose was taught to me by such accomplished people. So auditing
It's incredible.
only made me make up my mind which schedule or which module should I choose. And this is a wonderful opportunity to all the aspirants who go abroad. This is
I
something which
think that
India
that is
should
what,
introduce as well.
yeah, they will be really looking forward to the same with such an expertise. And I think that's rightly been said. A right educator or a mentor can actually make your life really worthy.
Yes,
So
yes,
I think you have been blessed with that, and that is why that expertise and the worthiness is actually reflective with your knowledge. So I'm looking forward. I'm really hoping for an interesting session ahead. As we look forward to international law as a specialization, as a
I
career path
hope
for
so too. I hope so too.
so many of the places we have actually reached, children usually have a doubt that how do I reach up to a level where I can work abroad? How do I
Yes.
use to reach my UN level of policy work, or
Yeah.
like places like Geneva, where it is quite popular for us in international law studying. So how do you think that these policy makings or choosing a career path will help us reach that places?
Well, way back when we used to study, there were not much of opportunities. But as technology made strides, as transport and communication made strides, what happened was that there's now a whole, shebang of opportunities which is available to students, not just abroad but also in India. Now, these international independent intergovernmental agencies, they have branched up even in India. Now you have UNCITRAL in India, UNCC in India, you have UNDP in India. So that is the very first step. If you ask me, I would not. Let me just give you an example of one of the experiences that I had working as an intern, as the youngest intern at Unidroit Rome, Italy, and the youngest Indian woman to work at Unidroit Rome, Italy. Well, when I went over there, they had only very few Indians, and that was 2012. And after, as soon as I completed, there were many Indians who started applying. They were studying at LLM, they started pursuing Unidroit internships, and they got applied. Similarly, there was a student who did his undergraduate, her, I guess, not his, her undergraduate at National Law University, Bangalore. And soon she was taken over at a training contract with one of the most reputed companies abroad. So you see, now the scope of opportunities has really widened. At that time, when I did my LLM 2011, that time the only way I could reach out or I could learn about international independent organizations was through the scholarly writings of our professors, and that's what I did. We used to have a Queen Mary Ward board. They used to give us their notes.
Right.
Sometimes they did make references of their own publications, research articles. And that's how I learned about Unidroid. And when I explored it more, thanks to the internet over there at that time, I got to know what is the function of Unidroid. It is harmonizing private law, sorry, not public international law. And that is how I applied. But these days, not just these international agencies appear as a module or as a chapter in your syllabus, but they are very much open to answering all your applications. So, the first step that you need to take is to make up your mind as to which branch of international law are you more interested. Now, people generally assume that international law is all about international organizations. It can be public, it can be private as well. So, there are two branches of international law. International law breaks it up into two branches, which is private international law and public international law. Now, if you study public international law, you are going to learn about what happened at the end of Second World War. Then you are going to learn about what were the agencies, that international independent intergovernmental organizations that were functioning and failed in actually precluding or stopping the Second World War, which was League of Nations, established in 1926. Then, what agencies were formed to stop, or what agencies stood united to fight all these barbaric acts of terrorism that shocked the human conscience? And that actually erected to stop these barbaric acts and to allow freedom from fear and freedom from want for people at large. If you see, these are actually the recitals of UDHR, which was actually drafted and which came into effect in the year 1948. But when you study private international law, you again go to Bretton Woods, that is right after the Second World War. Because any world war would not just affect the lives, it will also affect the economy. So economy had crashed. So the second wing arises out of the Bretton Woods Conference. And Bretton Woods ended up in making IBRD, which is popularly known as World Bank, and IMF, which is International Monetary Fund, which also dictated up until 1970s the way international exchange, currency exchange system works. So you need to understand whether you're more interested into that law which regulates the relationship between two private individuals, being private international law, or into that wing of international law which regulates the intercourse between two nations. So first
That's
make
really
your mind,
beautiful.
yes. So first make your mind, and then while doing an undergraduate degree, write a very, very sound and focused dissertation. Not many people know this, but your dissertation these days in undergraduate degrees, you have a dissertation in your final year. Not many people would know this, that if you make a very good focused dissertation, a research variable which is quite widely accepted, that may land you into a focused LLM in international law abroad when you actually share this piece with one of the professors along with your statement of purpose. Specifically, when you have University of Oxford application, they not only ask statement of purpose, they specifically ask you a master statement of writing, and that is nothing but something which you have already published or submitted. This masterpiece of writing, if somebody would have told me way back when I applied for Queen Mary, I would have probably gotten through Oxford. I had no idea. So students really need to chisel out their interest, make a very strong research article. Now, I would discuss as we go further what exactly is needed in master statement of writing.
Actually,
We would be
right,
discussing that.
right. Ma'am, as you are mentioning that there are the children actually need the guidance, proper guidance, and channel to reach up to the right direction and choose, as you have mentioned, about so many things that actually children are unaware of. So, to begin with, I think something that's really important is the manifestation to reach there. So, as the
Yes.
picture has been depicting here, I think I can keep myself visually appealing and been actually thinking that I'm been standing there. Could you motivate the children a little bit more about thinking and believing it is to first thing?
Um, I'm not very well equipped to do that because this studying abroad, having an advanced degree abroad, happened to be accidentally. Because I completed my undergraduate, I was working, and I was there in Mumbai. I was working over there, and I was felled down. You can say this as destiny. I was felled down by serious appendicitis, and I got the operation done, and it was told to me that we have opened up the lower part of your abdomen, and you need to be on rest. So I was lucky that my supervisor at that time, he allowed me some time. But at that time, same concomitantly, I met some of the lawyers who were practicing in Delhi, who, and they said that you have idea of corporate law, and that too well idea. Why don't you apply abroad? So this is how I developed interest. Apart from the fact that when I was doing my BA LLB from Symbiosis, we had a wonderful teacher in economics who used to teach us economics, Nilofer Raina. She's still there in Symbiosis, and she teaches, I think, arts and commerce. So
I
she
think
was at that
she should
time,
be
yeah.
watching this today.
She
She will
used
be
to
really
say that
proud.
you should really, apply for London School of Economics. I did not hear about London School of Economics before her. So, and it was not there as a contemplation as well. But then it just struck what ma'am had said way back, and I applied, and I was lucky that you get. So what I say is that most of the time, stop undervaluing yourself. Stop
Very nice.
underestimating
True.
yourself. It
That's
is
right.
all about probabilities, and every chance is a potential opportunity. You should always remember this. With your confidence, there is nothing which is impossible. In fact, one of my favorite heroines, I really like her, Audrey Hepburn. She once said that the word impossible itself means I am possible.
Correct.
So I think in this world, there's nothing impossible for a human.
Right. So, ma'am, very, very rightly said here that every chance is a potential opportunity. And
Is a
with
potential
that,
opportunity.
yes, we can actually glance over further that how this, rather than not being destined, can be an opportunity to be grabbed on. So, looking forward, ma'am, as you mentioned, that there are certain ways in which we need to be following. As a global scenario, it's very difficult because a lot of other things that fall in, like you were mentioning about your own scenario, how you reached up to the place and how you actually pursued it. Everybody is actually having a different scenario at the global level differently. So, can you
Yes.
discuss some of the global crises that have been actually taking place, which is not been highlighting the importance of international law, or possibly
Yes.
are highlighting the importance of international law in today's time?
Yes, yes, yes. It is really rueful. When I did my internship at Rome, it was beautiful at that time. It was beautiful. And, crossing the immigration was as easy as walking in your living room. I mean, you go there. I went there with my mother for the very first time, and it was easily stamped. People used to go there on their honeymoons. People used to visit there as a tourist place. We were there because all these international independent intergovernmental agencies, specifically United Nations, they have most of their offices located in via Panisperna, Rome, or HCCH. Like we had International Labour Organization right opposite ours. So it is really rueful. What about the crisis specifically that is happening these days? It has not only created much of metaphorical debris, which has precluded or which has made it a dangerous, I would say, which has jeopardized international study, but it has also created tension between the relations, across borders. So I can only pray and I can only hope that ICJ is, better equipped and somehow the United Nations get through to this. This is all we can as of now. There's nothing more that we can think about that because we don't have contemporary comparative constitutional law still as a strong legal apparatus at a global level. So, United Nations being the only agency, we can only hope and pray that it comes out of it salvages the situation. Otherwise, not only just now, but the future of education and the lines, because these tensions not only affect the individual countries, it affect the visa, it affect the policies, it affect how and where which citizen would end up. So it depicts the entire graph of any person who wants to study abroad. And
Right.
that is very, very important. That's the future. And everybody has a right to education. These are, universal declared, part of universally declared rights, part of our right to life, part of our dignity. So this should be saved and salvaged. This is all I can say.
Very nice, ma'am. So when we see that international law is a future, and we are considering law as a heart of the global solution, so problems like climate disputes, human right crisis, war conflict, as I mentioned in the slides also, I think at various pockets and various regions across the world, many people have been facing this, and it's not been quite highlighted. So as a lawyer, or basically talking about international law, what role can an individual play in these regards to talk more about the future solutions or problem solving approach?
See, when we talk about international law being the public international law, it is more on to universally synchronized set of rules which are harmonized for the sake of nations. And
Okay.
nations who are sovereign, determinate sovereign, they have sovereignty of their own within the territorial limits that they carry, they are free to make their own laws. But when it comes to the question of international peace, when it comes to any dispute which is between nations, they abide by the fact that yes, there is a combined United League of Nations, which is there serving as United Nations, who would have a body that might have an advisory jurisdiction. So at the end, that also is an advisory jurisdiction. Now, it depends upon how that can be implemented, depending upon the relationship, depending upon the status of the country at the global map, and also depending upon the semiotics of what is currently happening as situation or as a predicament.
I think, ma'am, it's really important to note, as you mentioned, what is the status of the country across the world and how we are globally compacting which issues and problems. Because
Yes.
it doesn't apply that every of the countries been facing a similar issue. But yes, as a student or possibly who's willing to pursue an aspirant needs to know that there are certain type of issues or global crisis or that has been taking place across the world, which we mostly remain unaware of just because it's not happening in your respective areas or
Where
regions.
home rules is the one which they should be aware of. No,
Yeah.
law students are not unaware of this. We had moot court
Right.
competitions.
Yes. Yes.
Specifically, there was a sixth virtual competition for mediation, which I judged recently, University of Kent and Swansea. They had they had a moot problem on home rules. So students are well aware of the international happenstances. Now it is upon, and it's good. It's good for them because probably the new minds, the fresh minds, probably can draw out more ideas to resolve the
Right.
situation. And at
Actually,
the
and
end,
that is
it
what.
is, rummaging pages is to come up with an actual practical solution. That's
Right.
the
That's really
beauty
important.
of a piece of thought, a piece of art, and most importantly, that's the beauty of law. That is exactly
And
where law matters.
that is where I think an international law student can bring up a change which possibly others are
Yes.
not focusing on.
No, but whenever you say international law, this is public international law, the one that regulates the relationship between two countries, an individual and a country. Wherever there will be a sovereign entity involved, it will always be public international law.
Right. So, ma'am, as we move further, there are certain of the commands that were coming from your students. So, I thought to show you a little. So, we are talking about looking forward to learning more about your journey. Congratulations, ma'am. Uh, your insights are the very base of learning, ma'am. Immensely blessed to be having being as your faculty, and we have more actually. So I thought to just give it a insight to the people sharing beautiful messages for you, ma'am. Your insights are the very base of our learning, ma'am. Immensely blessed to have you as a faculty. So I think that's a great start to the session. Moving ahead, ma'am. So
No,
if we are
see,
talking
in
about
the
international.
messages you see, Divya, in the messages, there is somebody named Akul. He has very rightly written about International Court of Justice. See, I told
Yes,
you our
yes,
students are well aware.
yes, yes, right, ma'am. I would like to showcase that as well on the screen. Just give me a minute. So this talks about international law. The United Nations currently has 193 member states, serving as a primary global forum and for the international cooperation, peace, security, human rights, and sustainable development. So that's
There
the
is a little history about that as well.
okay.
When Japan, Germany, Italy, and Japan, they were the Axis powers who were fighting, and the Blitz London, London Blitz, go through about an incident which happened in London. They used to bomb London in broad daylight, and it used to radiate with brightness. That is why that incident was called London Blitz. So at the same time, when these things, loss of life, loss of property was happening, the Atlantic Ocean was disturbed as a route which connected United States with this side, that is United Kingdom. And that is why on the high seas itself, Atlantic Charter was signed. And Atlantic Charter had two basic things, and that was we will ensure this two the allies ensured they wanted to ensure that there should be freedom from fear and freedom from want. And there must be, we should stand united against all these barbaric terrorist activities. And this became the charter for United Nations. This became the underpinning sought for the charter for United Nations, and later on ultimately led to the formation of United Nations.
Oh wow, that's lovely. That's, I think, really, I think the children will not be aware of this. It's really insightful to hear this, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes.
And furthermore, ma'am, as we continue, as you were mentioning about the future of it and how the children need to be aware about the global crisis. So, as an Indian student, if I am thinking about international law, what would you rather suggest, that the law is supposed to be like, what is the scope of me studying it abroad or in India? So, would you like to
Hmm.
highlight a little bit more about that as well?
The first thing which I would suggest these days is to get a good degree. The only problem when we used to be students, that was way back, was that the students are not equipped to know and to understand international conventions, which is a huge insult. So, what you need to do, and you know what, there used to be a very common saying that in the national law school, you would be better equipped with constitutional law. In a private university, you will be better equipped with the corporate side, like international commercial law, international economic law. Today, you see that both of them have combined. Now you have good faculties in the private universities that also come within the top 10 ranking, NIRF or QS, like you have Jindal Global Law School, like you have Christ University, Bangalore, like you have Presidency, which has IIRF, which is amazing. And then you have good universities, more good universities like Symbiosis, where we did, which has very good NIRF. And then there are national law schools as well. Now, the difference between the teaching which we had and which the young generation is that everything now is available on internet. So what you need to tell them is something which instills an insight, and that will only come when you actually discuss the actual live cases that are going on. And if the student pays attention just that, just onto that, and sticks onto the empirical and the clinical part, he will be in a very good position to land up into an internship at reputed industrial and governmental agencies like IICA, like IIFT. IICA is a think tank, which is Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. IIFT is Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. You have CTIL, Center for Trade and Investment Law, right now headed by Professor James Nadumpura, who was there at JGLS for a long time, and he's an expert. And there is a WTO center as well. So, what today is there which India lacks? Everything is there. So, if at all you want to focus, just focus on the stream, focus on the empirics now. Do not just focus on the theory.
Right.
Focus on the empirics, see the live cases, try to analyze and develop and chisel your analytical thinking. That, for the first time, would help you land up in a very good internship, and there you can build up your networking. That is the second part.
Right.
Once
Right.
you build up the networking, the only way specifically to enter into various universities, free or negligible fees, public universities in Europe, Germany or Norway, I'm talking about, they have very less fees. The only thing you need to do is a very strong SOP and a convincing research plot, which can convince the teacher over there, the professor over there, that yes, this is a penetrating, insightful topic, and the student must be given a
Absolutely.
chance to study.
Absolutely.
This is
It
all
actually
you need.
is. So I think, ma'am, that's students have always associated international law as something that is going to be only successful when you have been actually studying abroad. So
Yes,
that's really
yes.
important for them,
International law
and
is
I
not only left in the book now, Divya. They need to
yes,
understand international law is not left now in the books.
correct.
International law is pretty much what is happening around you.
But it's always a perception that obviously if you're going to be studying from abroad, that's much better because you will have more of an opportunities. But I think you have very rightly
Yes,
said and
yes, yes.
highlighted that in India also, if you've been actually looking at as a scope, We have
Mhm.
universities who have been actually glancing over with good opportunities which people are unaware of, and that is why the session is all about here, talking
Yes.
about the opportunities not just abroad, in for India as well.
You
You are
know,
a live
it's
example
not
today.
just about an LLM degree, it is also about a very strong internship that can land you up at WTO or ICSID or ICTSD or UNIDROIT. You do a very nice degree from JGLS, you go abroad, there are actual students. You go abroad, you do an internship at International Court of Justice, you go abroad, you do an internship at UNIDROIT, and see where exactly do you land it.
Actually,
This is one big favor that students of this generation have, which we never had. Otherwise, I will tell you, there's a very good program, MILE program in law and economics, which never existed in our time. It is WTO in association with Bern University in Switzerland.
oh wow.
You should do this. All the ones that are thinking about a career in national trade law should check out MILE program. That's one of the programs that I lament that I did not get a chance to do.
Ma'am, could you please repeat it once again? It's WTO.
MILE program, MILE, Masters of Law
Okay.
in Law and Economics, LLM in both Law and Economics. MILE program, simply write MILE.
Okay, that's called the Masters of Advanced Studies in International Law and Economics.
Hmm.
It's really nice.
That's a
Right.
wonderful program. They should do.
So I think that's really important for the students to note.
And a very good university also, Divya, is University of Luxembourg. It's very difficult to get through these universities. Private
Yes, of
universities in
course.
Europe, specifically in Luxembourg or in Germany. But once you are through, and there are very good stipends also, and very good scholarship. You have Erasmus Mundus, which is almost achievable, and I can give you for a guarantee, if you are consistent 60%, you would have a very achievable Erasmus Mundus scholarship in your hand. Or you have DART for advanced studies, research based studies. Then you have British Chevening scholarship. Then you have JN Tata Endowment scholarship. And there are 10 more university based scholarships.
Oh,
And there are also
right.
rebates, not just scholarships. There are university rebates based on your numbers, based on your entire profile.
Right. So, students, you can make a note of the scholarships and internships ma'am has been mentioned of. We will be discussing more about it. Before we continue, we have a question from Navya, so I would like to take the question in between the session
Sure.
here. Navya has been saying, ma'am, in which areas I can imagine my career as an international law student? Please guide me through how can it help me make a career?
Okay, Navya, that depends on your interest, beta. Like I said, you can choose between public international law or private international law. Public international law would take you to all those laws and international conventions which govern the regulations that regulate relationship between two nations or international organization and a nation or an individual and a nation. So wherever sovereign entities are involved, it will take you to public international law. And one of the best places to work over there is International Court of Justice, or you can work at International Criminal Court as well. Just an application, 2012, I had made an application and I got a revert from them. So these agencies are not very opaque. You only have to make a very strong application. You have to base your application on such research variables which are convincing and which are the current question of public importance. That is it. When you think about a private international law, you have 10, more than 10 international independent intergovernmental agencies like International Law Association, International Chamber of Commerce, which is headquartered in Paris, France. UNCITRAL is there, which was formed in 1966 by United Nations, or UNIDROIT, International Institute for Unification of Private Law, or ICTSD, or ICSID. They have just grown, and there's a space for everybody. So if you're interested in all that law which regulates private relationship, and private relationship mostly involves not only just personal marriage, spousal relationship, but primordially international trade and commerce and international commercial dispute resolution. go for something which is a specialized module at your undergraduate level. I'll tell you the name: International Economic Law and Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Do this and then take a very serious research at your final year on a very serious variable. Make this the base of your SOP when you are applying abroad. And this is a guarantee that you would get an admission.
Very nice. Navya, I think this solves a lot for you. And do mention in the chat box if ma'am has helped you solve through, or if in case you have further queries, please let us know. Ma'am, let's continue till the time we are hearing back from Navya. Thank you for your question, Navya. Ahead, as we move, so ma'am, as we were discussing about MILE and the Indian approach towards the international law. So, ma'am, apart from this, if not a degree alone, what do you think can be the three things a student must build up to succeed in the international law? So, what are the things that the students can focus on?
I think if you do not want to take up a degree abroad, you can very well take a master's degree, a postgraduate degree over here in India, which is quintessential. Otherwise, they don't take you seriously. You have to be a postgraduate, at least a postgraduate. Now, the problem is that not many people know that WTO, which is World Trade Organization, not just gives internship and scholarship to study our visiting researcher program, which is open to postgraduates, to university professors as visiting researchers, and to the PhD people who are pursuing their PhD, irrespective of whether they are doing it within their own jurisdiction. So, if you want to really seriously pursue without actually doing a foreign degree, you can have a very good PhD over here in India and you can apply for these scholarships. Now, these scholarships and internships, they range between 6 to 12, and then they are generally either stricken down at your consent, you can come back, or they are generally continued as well. But that happens only when you are good enough. After working over there, at least you get an idea of what are the system functioning. UN is not going to continue on an internship. So you need to, after that, apply for the Young Professional Program. Young Professional Program is something which even the governmental level, the ministries have started in India. You apply for Young Professional Program, you would see that you would land up, if you are exceptional in candidature, you will land up a job in United Nations.
So to highlight here, ma'am has mentioned about the young professional program. So all of you can take a note of it. Young professional program is a light and structured program that specifically highlights and focuses on recruitment of the initiatives offered by the organizations at UN, World Bank, and NATO to launch careers for high potential talent. I think this
It's
is
very
really
good. And students, let me add one more thing, students. There are more than 100 working stations of United Nations. So you can very much get a chance of working with United Nations if you want to work in a peace country. It's not very difficult.
beautiful. So I think that's something everybody aspires to work with United Nations, right? To be on that platform, to be along with the World Forum and the world leaders. And I think the ma'am has been actually giving us the channel, the right direction. Possibly many of us are not aware of. So, ma'am, as you have been discussing more about international forum and law being not just a degree, could you highlight more about how networking or internships you've already mentioned about, but a global mindset, or for that matter,
Mm.
writing and research can be helpful in this regard?
Yes, yes. This is very, very important and good that you asked. When I say that in the final stage of your undergraduate degree, you're supposed to write a focused dissertation. Now, dissertation is something which the students really need to improve upon. I mean, most of them, when I check their dissertations, when I check their problems, or when I check their research articles, they're absolutely confused. They're confused because it would start somewhere as a comparative study of international law or international organizations in India and abroad. No, that's not research. When you see research, there's a very good book. I don't know whether you would have it or not, but C.R. Kothari, written by C.R. Kothari. That is research techniques. research techniques, and that is used by PhD students at PhD level as well. I think probably Divya might be able to find out the link to same. If she is not able to do that, I'll provide her the link. On the very first page of C.R. Kothari, almost on to the second paragraph, second uh, line, if I do not remember. If I do not remember correctly, it could be second paragraph, second line. Yes. It is about Clifford and Woody's definition. It basically says that you define and redefine a particular problem, and then you propose a solution to the problem. Then you collect data, analyze data, evaluate data to verify whether your solution is adequate for that. And lastly, you give the conclusion for the same. This is all about research. Now, this is why when Redman and Moody says that research is a systematic work, it is systematic. And these are the steps of that systematic work. It is as easy as understanding that you cannot build any house without, yes, exactly, C.R. Kothari research methodology. Absolutely. I don't know whether Divya, you would be able to find out the first page, the first and second paragraph. The entire definition is given. If somebody actually reads the first page of C.R. Kothari research methodology, they would very easily be able to understand what research is. See, research always try to answer a question which is of public importance, which is of intellectual curiosity. Otherwise, there's no use of research. So, what you're supposed to do is you define and redefine. But many students ask me, ma'am, somebody told us vaguely that research is searching the facts and again and again. Yes, it is doing that. But why? Because you define and redefine the problem. Let me give you an example. Did you have something to do with digital arrest when we were students, when we were small, when we were kids? No. But because of the technological strides, specifically in IT sector, you have this. Now, do you think that it is defined as an offense within Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita? What solution do you have? You know that this is an offense. So you keep on defining the magnitude of this problem. Then you propose a solution. Yes, by an amendment in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, there can be inclusion of the new terms which is there at the occurrence, at the happenstance of digital arrest. And then you collect the data from specifically the people who have suffered this, from specifically the police authorities, the police functionaries, from specifically the legislative authorities, from specifically the executive authorities, and evaluate and analyze whether your amendment would work as a full, whole, salubrious solution to this problem or not. Either it will work or it will fail. When it works, that's exactly the piece of research that you're looking. And then it becomes the full proof research. There you go. Second line, second paragraph, Clifford Woody. Third word onto from left to right. I don't know whether you can zoom it or not. Oh, I actually remember things. So that's just about it.
I'm sharing the link in the comment section for the viewers
Yes.
so they can
Yeah.
access to the textbook. I
Yes. The
think it's
students
really
need to understand this, beta.
insightful.
You need to
I think
understand that you need to find out first the problem, and then in your mind, you need to find out the solution. Always make the research title as an apt statement, which is the direct relationship between independent variable, the problem, and the dependent variable, which is the solution that you are going to measure. If you have this, your research work is good enough. And this will only land you in a good internship or a very good master statement of writing. And if you do this good, this is a guarantee with a good, consistent 70% or 60% record, you can land up in the top law schools abroad.
very nice. So, ma'am, as this is really, I think, insightful for everybody to know. So this problem solving approach is something that's really important for everybody to adapt to. The problem to the solution approach that ma'am has really highlighted here is, I think this is going to be the mantra for everyone, because we
Statement for
are
problem, Divya. Statement for problem. Statement of
okay.
purpose, sorry.
Statement of purpose. So basically, everybody has this kind of a thing of highlighting the problems but not the solutions. So that's what it's all about. And so, ma'am has mentioned about the research methodology. Everybody can refer to the textbook. The link has been shared in the
Okay.
chat box
Yes.
below.
The second one is writing. Writing again, beta. Writing not just involves a good literature, piece of literature. Remember, somebody, Professor Angie Raymond, when I was doing my LLM, she said, writing should be crisp, writing should be clear, writing should be concise and to the point. So it's not about flowery language or flowery words that you use. It is more about some language which everybody understands. Always remember, when you are researching on a particular topic, you need to publish it. And when you publish it, it is open to audience wide. So they need to understand what you are researching about so that you are able to explain the problem that you are trying to solve. And this also involves a very good citation method. Now, nowadays, we did not have foolproof citation softwares. This is for you these days. The best way to cite or quote is simply to go to scribber.com. And over there, you have a citation generator. You put down all the sites which you want to quote, cite as a reference, and it will cite it by itself. Now, there can be several Indian sites which Scribber cannot enter. So that has an option of manually citing. This is a master clause to your referencing and citation. Otherwise, various universities have actually laid down the guidelines for citation and references. You can use them. You have to strictly abide by that while making your statement of purposes, specifically when you are trying to do a master's of research degree abroad. So you have to keep that in mind. Internships, like I said, you want, see, every base, the base of everything is a very good research, is a very good research variable. And that has to be submitted along with the application. You do it, you are there at an international school. And I would give you an example from my personal experience at Unidroid. I got to know about Unidroid and Usher College, which is Usher College Europe, which is wonderful place to do advanced courses in international law, be it international trade, private international law, or public international law, only through the networking which I had in Unidroid. That gave me an opportunity to attend Unidroid conference, international conference on a national commercial contract, wherein I got the opportunity to meet some of the best arbitrators, Professor Franco Ferrari from New York University. Then there were many people, somebody who headed the Swiss commission, and there only they were very open people as interns, not open to everybody, but the ones who were working at Unit, right? They were very open to explain us what needs to be remaged, what needs to be expanded, what needs to be emancipated, specifically when we talk about a problem that is in global context. Scribber. Scribbr, not scribble. Scribber. Divya, scribber. Scribbr, scribber. There are many. Scribber, Mendeley, Mendley. Students, if you want to write, you can write that. Scribbr, scribber. Scribber citation generator. Then you have Mendeley. Yes. Then you have Mendeley, Mendeley. That also, the only thing is that you need to have those articles in PDF format. Attach that and it will be cited. Specifically, it will be directly added in your MS Word. So now about internships, I've already told you. Internship is quintessentially, you know, the base is a strong application. The quintessential base for internship is a strong application. But these days, what I would encourage you to do is something like, let me give you an example. I did my internship at Unidroit Rome, and soon after that, I was also selected for an internship at over here at Ministry of Commerce. So what you need to do is what specialize yourself in the domestic arena and then go straight away, because that is eventually anyway going to happen. So what you can do is you can take up a very good internship at one of the think tanks of the ministry. Do it at the Law Commission, do it at the Ministry of Commerce, do it at the Ministry of Law and Justice, do it at CTIL, do it at IIFT, do it at IICA. That will actually give you an opportunity to learn what happens and how an actual problem, an actual trade agreement is discussed. This exposure, if you get this exposure, do you imagine where are you right now? If you get this exposure, you get the whole plethora. You are at the bank of research sources. You get the plethora of resources. You try and you understand how these international intergovernmental organizations function. And then there is no stopping. Obviously, you would find up your problem, which you would like to tackle, and then you go abroad and you do it. For example, I found out small enterprises. There's a wonderful work which is written by Professor Petra Butler in Commonwealth University, sorry, in Commonwealth countries. They don't have very strong ADR legal apparatus within the domestic legal regime. That is very true in context of India as well. Still now we are looking for these emergency arbitrators, which still has to be instilled, and the bill that is pending right now considers that. So this is how you would be able to do the networking plus the research. Do you see how these things are interlinked? All you need to do is to really pay attention to the empirics, the actual problems. And that, I think, that's quite a lot for this slide.
Ma'am, you've highlighted most important things I think everybody can note down. And talking about it further, when we talk about the ministry think tank, or possibly talking about the various researches or organizations or websites that people can refer to, we also have certain of in the questions. I think would I like to take one in between the session.
Yeah,
So
sure,
we have
please.
it. How effective is international law if there is no global authority to enforce it strictly?
Probably a child has asked this question.
Yes,
Let
yes.
me answer you into the first chapter of 𝐒𝐿 Commercial Law, third edition, Penguin publication. I'm sorry, beta. When we were studying 2010, it was third edition. Now it probably would be more. So when you see the last pages of the first chapter of Harmonization and Globalization, written by Professor Roy Good, you would actually find that there are three pieces of law. There is soft law, there's hard law, and then there's softer law. Now, hard law is that codified laws which is now in forms of convention. So every country which signs a convention being a member of United Nations, they have to actually put it down as a municipal law within their domestic legal regime. So this is hard law. So if you are signing any convention, that becomes, after ratification, that becomes a duty of the government, the respective government, to make it a part of municipal law. This is how it becomes enforceable and binding. Now come to the soft or softer law. These soft and softer law, for example, unified customs and practices in international payment, UCP 600. These are the common practices, for example, letter of credit, which is followed throughout the world, across the world. So obviously, if the entire business community is following this, strictly adhering to this, it, the following and the enforceability comes out of the mutual adherence. Why? Because this is the best and this is quite unique. This is how you actually try to, and when you go to WTO, you would have retaliatory measures as the one which must be enforced for anybody which is a disputing party and which is under a liability to pay the other party. So this is how it works. There's not that, there's no global authority. The
Should we have
mechanisms
a?
are refined, but very much in place.
I think that solves the question. I think you can mention in the chat box if you wish to confirm further. We have more questions coming up. Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
So we have Akul also. He's mentioning that I've used Mendeley during my master's research thesis for citation purposes.
Yeah.
That's
You
another
used
useful
it.
app
Very
that
good,
ma'am
Vita.
mentioned
Very good.
for. Yeah. So ma'am
Very
has
good.
mentioned for it. That's really insightful. And also, all the more we have RST11 and asking more questions, talking about why some other countries face strict action for violation while others don't.
But this more or less depends on the university's stance in the international politics. So when you say that there's a new international economic order, which
Hmm.
is there in United Nations Convention on International Sale of Goods, CISG Vienna 1980, it does not actually mean that there would be an order which is there for equal platform to all the countries, irrespective of their economic situation. It more or less depends on the stand the country has on the global parameter. This plays a very important role. This is why in the Bretton Woods conference, we had John Maynard Keynes and Harry Dexter White, even though there were more than 44 nations. It depends. Vidam. Okay, let me give you an example. When you go and see International Trade Organization was formed, the charter for ITO was there, but it was never adopted. Why? Because there was one very powerful country which actually reclused itself, declined to sign that. And that was something which everybody else also acquiesced it with. And that is how we got on 30th October 1947 General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. So you see, it's all about economics cannot go without politics, no beta. So there is
Right.
international politics, there is political situation, there is economic situation. Initially, as students, we used to think history is a different subject, politics is a different
It's
subject,
all
the
interdisciplinary.
economics, everything is interlinked.
Correct. And that is where the children do not understand that yes, of course, they are not separated subjects. Just because they have a preference for a particular subject, it's always been felt that they have never been connected. But it's actually an interdisciplinary approach that all of them are connected to each other. Navya has shared a gratitude for your guidance, ma'am. Uh,
You're welcome, Navya.
yeah. Moving ahead, ma'am, as you mentioned about international, this is very rightly raised by one of the students in the comments itself, that we are talking about an international approach, or specifically the international politics that defines that how the international laws are supposed to be, which is the powerful country is going to be more effective in these terms. It's always be a perceived thing that it's always USA or UK that are the best options to be studying about international laws. So, your
There is
insights on
a
this, ma'am?
question. Yes, yes, yes. Let me answer. Do you want me to answer this question? Why do you think students still believe
Yes,
UK and US had a?
yes,
So
ma'am.
this was a very common thing, Vida. This was a very, very common, all the students, including Divya. This was a very common mindset that you study in UK, you study in United States because the Ivy is there in United States, Ivy League is there in United States, or in UK you have Oxford, Cambridge, and University of London. No, when you check the QS World Ranking, which is where very much now in your hand, you see National University of Singapore. And I'll tell you, my professor, Professor Stavros Berkoulakis, who taught me international commercial comparative arbitration, is now at NUS. So you can imagine the quality of faculty is there in National University Singapore as well. And it is very high on QS World Ranking. When you talk about MILE program, that is Bern. Talk about University of Basel, talk about University of Oslo. amazing at QS World Ranking and very, very difficult to get. Now, the thing is that we were unaware of this. Not many people would know until unless they are in Bangalore about the other good universities which are also there, KLE, Presidency. So this happened as a result of social media and QS World Rankings. When you check all of them and the one including the one in India, Jindal Global, 77th rank is there. So this is a myth that you only have UK and US. Of course, there are wonderful universities in UK and in the United States as well. Stanford, Harvard, Georgetown. In Canada, McGill University is there. Vancouver, British Columbia, amazing universities. But to say that in Europe it isn't, specifically when HCCH is there, International Court of Justice is there, what are you talking? And National University of Singapore, amazing. Just check the QS World Ranking and the quality of faculty over there. Amazing it is. Because it is interconnected now. These days it is interconnected. So every person has niche specifically in terms of, or every good university that is dedicated and tenacious of creating a good academic and research scholarship within them, they can do it with the help of social media. You should have regular seminars. And you think IIM Bangalore is any less? No way. IIT Kharagpur any less? No way. Check out their QS World Rankings. Wonderful they are. And you should always see top 500. Why do these universities make a condition that you must pass from India's NIRF top 100 institutions? Because they know that the NIRF ranking in India, top 100, means equivalent to the standard that they are having, that they have mirrored academic standards. That is why. So we need to get out of that myth. We need to take the best of what we have right now. And if it is getting in half price, what's the, fly with the ointment in that? You should very much go ahead and do that. QS World Ranking is abided by whole across the globe. This is the metric or parameter of standard education.
So I think everybody should know about the world ranking as well as
Yes.
the
Yes.
NIRF, as ma'am has quoted here, to know more about how the international law works, or specifically how you are supposed to be referring to the universities ranking across,
Yes.
not just merely when going by the names, or specifically comparing between and developing a perception that only universities abroad are specifically more important to us,
Yes.
or
Yes.
they are the only one that are
Amrita
providing the quality of
Vishwavidyapeetham is
education.
wonderful. Is wonderful. The one that you have on the top. I think it's
Yeah.
8, right? Yes.
Yes. So, students, as ma'am said, NIRF ranking is also one of the ways to have known about the university and how they have been having a ranking among the top 100
Yes, and
universities
they have a
across.
condition. Most of the universities abroad have a condition that your undergraduate must be from top 100 institutions.
Oh, wow. That's lovely. So, I think this is something important and noteworthy for everyone.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
keeping that in mind, you can also get over with the myth that usually it is associated, that it is always just and just the policies, or basically the taking up education from abroad has always been more helpful. No, we have
But
facilities and
let
India is
me add
actually
one
excelling
more
in this.
thing. Yes, yes. Let me add one more thing. A reality. Even though it is there that top 100 NIRF universities should be, your alma mater, but
Hmm.
there is a student of Galgotias who is on full term Erasmus Mundus scholarship doing PhD. So
Oh,
not
wow.
necessary. Quality of research matters. See just how much quality of research matters.
That's for sure, because if there's no quality, of course you will never get a recognition across the
Yes,
board.
yes.
So it's not necessary that from where you're doing, it depends upon how you are doing.
Hmm. And there's also a myth amongst the students that if we are not very good, our marks is not very good, we won't get scholarship. No, beta. There are different criterias of actually judging you overall. How much is your economic income? Which country do you belong to? What is your
Right. It's really
education
important.
and what is the
Hmm.
quality of research? Everything is
Beautiful.
taken into consideration. And that is why over 80% of the students in the top law schools, they get scholarships. Only 20% pay.
Very nice. And students really need to note these, which is very, very important. Um, okay, so we have Raghav who has sent across your appreciation, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your words and insights. Really help us today. Okay, we have, before we moving further, let's take another question coming from Akul again.
Yeah.
So here we are talking about, while many of the top international law schools are in US and UK, why is the International Court of Justice located in the Netherlands? Does studying
Yes.
in N offer an advantage for aspiring students? We have somebody from Netherlands here actually asking this question, ma'am.
Well, Bita, there's a very interesting history which you should study as a student. I don't know whether I should say this here or not. But do you know about Permanent Court of International Justice? That was basically a precursor to International Court of Justice. And that was basically to make the entire, to send a message that even Europe is good and salubrious when it comes to international harmonization of international law. That is why you see these International Court of Justice and Permanent Court of International Justice located in Hague, Netherlands.
Hague. Right, right. So we are talking about Hague here, and I think it's quite popular, and people from the international law should be knowing about the justice board that we've been having. So the Permanent
There
Court
is
of
a very
International
good
Justice.
agency,
Yes.
HCCH,
Okay.
Hague Conference. Okay. You should do an internship or a summer school over there. Let me add this. Do a summer
Actually, Hague has
school,
quite
do
a
a
name for
winter
that.
school. Yes, HCCH. You should do a summer school or a winter school in HCCH. Do it at UNITAR, which is United Nations. Do it at ICC, which is International Criminal Court. Do it at ICC, which is International Chamber of Commerce. Do it at ILO, which is International Labour Organization. Do it at ICTSD. Do it at UNIDROIT. All of them have. Do it at WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization. All of them
My
have.
God.
And let me tell you, free of cost online. Pay 1 lakh to 1,20,000 as a fees when you go and visit there. So it is
Wow,
pretty much
this is
within your
massive.
pocket.
Oh, this is massive. So, talking about Hague, we are actually talking about the Permanent Court of International Justice, and as the first permanent international tribunal with the that's been located
League of
in
Nations.
Netherlands. Yes, and this is something that's really important for everybody to be knowing who's pursuing the international law, to enhance your knowledge further and much knowing about it. Thank you for raising this question, Akul. I hope this solves being an aspiring student or basically a student who's coming
Yes,
forward
Vita,
with
studying
of
in
a
New
knowledge about
Zealand
international.
offer Netherlands, not New Zealand. I think you've written Netherlands. Netherlands offers a good advantage. But again, you need to check. There's a very good university, Leiden University, Netherlands.
Yeah.
It has good QS ranking. You can do it.
So, dear students, do always check up the ranking that we've been having for the QS World ranking, and that is going to give you a good insight that which university you're taking further and where does it rank abroad or in India. Right. Moving further, ma'am has been actually talking about really massive projects that children actually can take up, and that too in a very affordable approach. Ma'am, my next
Yes.
question is actually regarding the same. The affordable countries that you can talk about as the combination for students to be recommending for quality education and opportunities. It's,
Okay.
I think, really looking forward to everybody will be actually seeing to this question.
I'll tell you exactly what I would have done. Go to Germany, go to Italy, go to France. All the public universities are very much affordable. Tell me one public university which is not affordable, and I will stop teaching you international trade law. This is out of my personal research. Okay. Apart from this, you can also go to Singapore, National University of Singapore, or you can also go to Oxford Beta in an affordable rate. You have seen £35,000 and you got scared. No, write a good master's statement of writing. You'll get full scholarship. Why can't you think of yourself eligible for British Chevening? And at Queen Mary University of London, 50% scholarship can also be taken by the student. So why not that? There are many university scholarships. If you think that it is not and I want to afford it, go for any public university in Europe. Trust me, it is negligible to free.
Ma'am, could you highlight more a little bit, like how the children can appear or basically search about regarding these universities from the various
Okay.
countries that
Okay.
we have been actually highlighting on?
Yes, that is one question. For masters, it is mastersportal.org. Masters portal. Google Masters portal, you would have. For PhD students, it is jobs.ac.uk, even though it is only UK, but it also gives the entire PhD positions, academic positions, which is across the world. So jobs.ac.uk. And there's also PhD positions, PhD portal, Masters portal, PhD portal. Don't go to the general which come up on, the upon the making basic search on Google. Go on Masters portal. That's a very good site. And jobs.ac.uk. Absolutely.
Ma'am, Masters portal, which you mentioned, was for?
Yes. It is mastersportal.org. Google it. You would have Masters portal and PhD portal, both of them. You would get the sites.
Okay, so I think students, please take a note of it. This is really, really important, I guess. Ma'am has given this very nice insight. So I'm showcasing it on the screen as well. We're talking about the Masters portal, job.ac.uk, as well as the PhD portal.
Now, what I'm telling you today, it took me almost 1 or 2 years to research. Then
Actually,
only. And you should take
this
at
comes
least
out of
1 month to
experience.
research.
Hmm.
Yes.
So this is actually insightful, and hearing from a person who has actually gone through it is something that we're really looking forward to, which is actually going to be really helpful for the students, because this is not reaching it to the audience. We are not getting to know that what international law is all about. How is it helpful for us? And so many key factors that we have mentioned here, ma'am. It's very, very important for the children. Plus, it's always been considered that considering a subject like international law is going to be really difficult, expensive, as well as non-affordable. So this something it's really highlighted here, and children are going to be
No,
really
this
getting in.
only solves 60% of your problem, beta. All the students who are looking forward to study abroad, this only solves 60% of your problem. See, the education system in India and the education system abroad is slightly different. You need to, after having selected your university, you need to decide the kind of course that you want to do. Then you need to choose the specialization which is available. There will be masters of law and finance. There will be masters of law. There will be MSc, Masters of Science in Finance and Investment. There will be MSc in international aspects of finance. So their courses are slightly different from ours. Then check which is the subject that you want to study and which is the name of the module that is there. Match it, then apply for that course.
Very nice, very nice. Please take a note of it, everyone. It's really insightful, very nice. So keeping that in mind, ma'am, we I think we can focus on the countries which are actually providing us affordable education,
Yes,
but at the
yes,
same time we are also looking of opportunities for scholarships. So could you highlight a
yes.
little bit more on what is the scholarship and what is the process? How do we go about gaining it? And the students can actually go through the process, because it feels quite competitive for the students to
Yes,
reach
it
there
is
to actually
very,
go for
yes, it is
or
kind of
achieving a scholarship for
competitive.
that matter.
Yes.
Yes.
Four things are to be borne in mind. Only four things. First, make a very strong application. Why you want to pursue this? You must convince the university, you must convince the scholarship people that this is the need and this is why you are going to do it. Second, what stands out your candidature? What have you done in your professional experience? What have you done in your academic accomplishment which really stands you out? Third, your knowledge and your degree, that is your marks. And fourth, your interview. If you keep these four things and you have really prepared well, there is no way that you are not going to land up in scholarship. That is how I landed up in scholarship. That is it.
So, ma'am, any of these scholarships and what is the way to reach? Could you please highlight a little on that as well? how can children apply for it? What is the way and the procedure, or where they can actually
See,
search about
DARD,
it?
you have a website dedicated. Germany, Erasmus Mundus is best scholarship. I would advise everybody to apply for Erasmus Mundus. You would get it. Chevening is slightly competitive because we have competition, and Eiffel scholarship is something which I don't know, so I would not comment upon that. Then university based funding. Out of these three, I would advise you best top Erasmus Mundus, then DART, then university based scholarship. That is the best way, beta. And when you talk about Indian scholarship, there's always a scope that you are competing only with Indian students. Remember that.
Hmm. Right. So we always have an option, children. You can actually glance over it, search about it. You can take care of it, and then furthermore enhance your knowledge in terms of understanding each of them and how you
Erasmus, you
apply for
would
it.
get, or invariably, if somebody from Galgotia's university can get Erasmus Mundus, you should think about yourself as well. Do not underestimate yourself. Only make yourself strong in four. Convince them, convince them how your candidature stands out, give your marks, and last, prepare very good for the interview. Four things. That's it.
So, ma'am, the students who have been applying for this process of understanding up, you have already told about the websites they can go through for writing, for research. You have already
Okay,
mentioned
Peter,
about
let yes, this is a
scholarships
question
as
from
well.
a student, I think, or is it a question which you have made? Huh?
Yeah, from the slide, ma'am. Yeah, it's coming from the
Okay.
slide only. We have already just stated.
One simple advice should I tell you. I have a brother, Sunit Prasad. He is currently at BIT Mesra, Rachi, off campus, Devghar. He has done his MSc Finance Investment in Queen Mary University of London. He has done his MBA from Aberdeen. He's way better. His name, probably his photograph was there in Elphiston when he topped. So I would not like to say anything else because, I am the bigger sister, but I'm not very good as compared to him. But with my 60% consistent record from Symbiosis International University, I got the internship at UniDroid, the only Indian student and the only student in my batch who did UniDroid internship in Rome, Italy in 2012. And the reason was my confidence and my strong application. Soon after, I was chosen for an internship at Ministry of Commerce. Again, strong application, strong, confident interview. These are the only two criteria. Nothing more than that. Be confident. Don't be, the haphazard. Don't be restless. Don't have an emotional overwrought that, oh, I cannot do it. There's nothing which is impossible. The first thing which you need to learn is that impossibility is mere state of mind. Possibility is where truth begins. Please take this down from. Impossibility is here. Possibility is where truth begins.
Students, please take a note of it. Ma'am is really motivating you to take up the subject further. And just it's a mental block that we usually have, and that's the first thing we need to remove, and everything sorts and becomes much better then. Ma'am, as we have already discussed about the scholarship in the universities, the next question comes up is that how the shortlisting of the university or prioritizing them on the ranking, the location, and specialization should be the next task for a student.
Think about your budget. Think about your subject interest. Go and check QS World Ranking first. Then go and chart out the courses second. And then go and start making the application. For example, if you want to do something on constitution, University of Oxford should be your top choice. If you want to do something on arbitration, Queen Mary University of London should be your top choice. National University of Singapore should be your top choice. If you want to do something on international trade, di La Sapienza, Roma should be your first choice. Why? Professor Bonnell is there, who was my supervisor. Professor Eleonora Finazzi was there, who was my sub-supervisor. All good people you would find there. If you want to do something on private international law, conflict of law, or public international law, Georgetown University, they have a specific specialization, LLM foreign, for foreign candidates. It is basically suitable for all the other jurisdictions. Go and do that. This is how you choose it. Still, if you find it difficult, there are various official university representatives that are available across India that can help you. The only thing is that don't let them charge. And that is one of the reasons why I have opened Just Calum. I do not at zero fees. I shot out on the basis of not me, it's my husband now because now I'm working full time. But the idea was conceived by me way back when I was not working at that time. And let's just help the student in on the basis of their candidature in charting out the best program at the best university, given their economic status, given their scholarship, given scholarly student mark sheet, given on the basis of what recommendations they have. So you can take help of such. Do not pay. Do not pay for this. This is what I advise.
Any of the international institutes, ma'am, other than these that students can think of?
Yes, the one is ASAR. Then there is HCCH, which is not mentioned over here. Then there's Unidroid. Then there's ICSID. Then there's ICTSD. Then there's UNCITRAL. Then there's WIPO. Then there's WTO. There are whole load. World Bank. All of them have internship programs, and that too at various levels. Whether you are doing masters, whether you are doing post PhD, at various levels. Even at universities, the lecturers and the professors can go for visiting research. And advocates, you think that we can't do, we are just practicing, you can go for internships.
It's really nice. So students, please take a note of this. This is really important because internships is actually going to give you a practical approach,
Yes,
and that
networking
is
builds
going to
from
better.
internship.
Yes, that
Yes,
is going to give you the step ahead for how you can actually take up taking up the subject to an international level, or possibly
it is.
understanding it at, at the
That is
national
your
level,
first
which is
ladder
important.
for landing up a permanent job abroad.
Right. So, ma'am, I think we are more. We can talk about internships for children to know much better. Talking about the key institutes and universities, why do you think internship is being considered as more powerful than classroom learning in terms of international law?
Okay, let me answer this to you as well. When we are in a classroom study, we study what do you understand by FOB and CIF. Say, for example, again, let me give you an example. Professor Angie Raymond, when she was teaching, wonderful professor she is, when she was teaching us documentary sales in international sales transaction, we came across these documentary sales as CIF, which is cost insurance and freight, and FOB, which is free on board. Everybody would know that. These are input terms which have been coined out by Chamber of Commerce. But apart from that, when we come to the actual cases, you have David T. Boyd versus Louis Luca, or it can be Cummings versus Hazel, max to max, which is given. Again, there can be more cases added. I'm talking about Roy Good Commercial Law, third edition, Penguin publication, or Justice McCarty regarding to the nature, shape, size, quantity, and quality of goods. All these cases you would find between pages 942 to 945. This is how also I teach, not just at the international, at the LLM level, but also at the undergraduate level. Maximum I would go is that go read JJ Fawcett, or you go and see the Swiss Law Commission report, which is the reference quote 99 on the same page. When you actually go to these international independent intergovernmental agencies, beta, you would find you get the opportunity to audit these live cases. As a Unilex intern at Unidroid under the editor-in-chief of the Unilex database, Professor Michael Joachim Bonnell, I got the opportunity to work under an incredibly accomplished and unyielding professor. And I used to audit live cases on basis of issues, on basis of the arguments raised, on basis of the award which is going to be made, and on the grounds whether award is right or not. How many of you know that auditing a report, an audit report which goes on Pace University or the Unilex library, is just one paragraph? The case study that you do in India is totally different from the audit reports which are submitted abroad. This is the difference between a classroom study and an actual internship. This gives you an insight onto how things work. It is like looking peeking into what you study in the book as a film, as an actual scenario. This is the difference. So that's just about it.
So I think we need to understand that with the clarity of thoughts and with the confidence that ma'am has been actually highlighting things here is it's outstanding. And children,
Okay,
it's really important for everybody to know
let
about
me
this
just
point.
tell you one more thing. Won't this give you a practical exposure when you're actually looking into a case, the insights of the case? Let me give you an example which I had as a practical exposure. It was 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝐤𝐚 case that I was auditing when I was a Unilex intern at Unidroid. It was about United Nations Convention on National Sale of Goods, CISG, Vienna, 1980. Now, the section Article 42 of the International Sale of Goods, CISG, Vienna, 1980, simply talks about the notice which must be given by the buyer to the seller about the nature, shape, size, quantity, and quality of the goods. The seller is supposed to make the goods exactly of the same quantity, and ship it to the buyer. Now, in this particular case, this is what exactly was done. However, the Australian company on the border itself, they stopped the motors, the trucks, saying that the kind of motor which is being used in this particular truck, it does not conform to our pollution standard. Whose fault it is? Nobody else's. The convention stopped at the fact that if the notice has been given, it is good enough. Now, who gets to decide who would be bearing the responsibility? The seller has already incurred the cost and produced the goods and sold it. The buyer is not getting the kind and quality of the goods that he wanted because it has been stopped at the very border. In this, how international conventions are interpreted, this is your biggest earning. And it was actually told that it was more on to the authorities that were, even though after rectifying the pollution error, were still quarantining the motors, and that is why the seller was given the complete amount of money. So
Wow.
these insights are something which you learn. So this is your practical exposure. When it comes, see, most of what our policies are today, they reflect the experiences from past and the new givings which come from abroad. So this many a times help us in making policy. For example, Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. We are actually trying to align Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996 into international best practices. Why are we doing that? Because India is least preferred seat for arbitration. So isn't the foreign practices or the best practices exposure necessary for that? Of course it is. Not only that, it adds to your CV because the moment I went for my Unidroid internship, the next thing which I was looking for was an internship over here at Ministry of Commerce. And let me tell you one more thing. When I joined Christ University in 2012, I was neither net nor a PhD. So just imagine how much a research abroad matters and how much credibility it gives.
Right. It's really impactful, ma'am, the way you have actually started from talking
Okay.
about the importance of the subject towards the universities, and that too telling about affordable countries which are actually very much present there, which is a kind of a myth among the people. Not just that,
Yes,
the
I was
internship and the
never a
scholarship.
teaching associate or a teaching assistant which people give. I was assistant professor on merit. So, beta, this
Okay.
is the kind of credibility you get. Of course, now things have changed. Maybe universities have different parameters. That was way back 2012.
So that's really important, moving from step by step in your procedures and the way that you can achieve up to the higher levels. As ma'am, we have been actually taking up we are closing, we are actually in the nearing end of the session, taking up further questions. I think we have one from the audience we can take further. Then
Yeah.
we're open to more questions, audience. So if you people wish to mention anything, please do mention here. So here we have Mr. Hemraj. He's been mentioning that, ma'am, which is the best stream in 11th except science and maths that they can
Okay,
pursue
beta,
for
I have something new
graduate.
for you also. I know my small babies, they also need to know. So, beta, there is a wonderful undergraduate degree also, which is there in Queen Mary, which is there in University of Oxford. So, for a BCL, you can go, which we never got a chance. We only went for masters, so you can do that. So for the stream that you are thinking about after 11th, which is the best in 11th, it can be commerce. It can be science. Even though you do this as science or arts or commerce, beta, don't think a moment about you would not get an admission. My brother is an arts graduate at 11th and 12th level, and he did Master of Science in Finance and Investment in Queen Mary University of London. So you have no barriers. These foreign universities have no barriers, even though we have our own stereotypical thinking that arts is bad or commerce is less or science is more. There's no problem. Only thing which I will tell you is to look for an undergraduate degree. That is also very much available for you people and very good for you people also.
Right. Ma'am, one more question we can take here. In ongoing conflicts, how is international law actually enforced on ground realities?
But the ground realities is again how countries come and support you. So if you are a member of United Nations, if you are there, you have to abide by the decisions of ICJ. If you are not a member, then obviously there will be 10 problems that you would be facing. Plus, there's also a state entity and non-state entity, which is there. So all these parameters of international law matter. And this is one of the reasons why the dilatory and continuous ongoing situation we face.
Rightly noted, ma'am. So, proceeding further, as ma'am has been highlighting that international law is not just about understanding of the subject, but yes, of course, knowing the ground realities of a particular country it has been actually applicable on. A lot of things goes into the process, talking about global crisis, the
You stop
availability of
giving,
resources that we
there are
have.
too many things by which you can force a country to abide by the mandate, beta. These are the study of international relations. You study international relations. You have to maintain international relations because you cannot cut off from the world. So if you are not abiding by what majority have the stance on that, obviously they will retaliate and they would boycott. Nobody would want that. So this is how the international relations and international politics play the role. That is.
All right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for mentioning this. Further, let's quickly take up another topic that we can actually discuss on, which is very important, and I think everybody would be looking forward to the UN internships. The dream entry. Could you please highlight on how do I reach up the United Nations?
Okay. Again, make your international law the primordial function, the linchpin of your focus. Okay? First, then get a very good idea about how United Nations institutions work. Third, pick up the stream which you would like to work upon, be it public international law or private international law. And the last, make a very convincing issue, pick a very convincing issue which you would make or attest at with your application to work at as an intern over there. So, say for example, if I want to work on international trade law, I want to study on United Nations Convention on International Sale of Goods, CISG Vienna 1980. India has not signed it yet. I can apply at UNCITRAL. I can apply at UNITROIT saying that India is yet to become a signatory of United Nations Convention on International Sale of Goods. We have Domestic Sale of Goods Act, but we see certain gaps. Identify those gaps, and you mentioned that. And I would like to know more how comparative study of international conventions would help that. There you go, you get the internship. This is how I got the internship.
I think everybody was looking forward to this question, and this is something that everybody focuses and targets on. That specifically, how do I reach up to that? But yes, of course, the journey is a long way
See,
process,
the journey
and
is
it
always
is
as simple as that. You have to be very, very clear, beta. Something which you make as a heavy load on your head? No. Identify your variables. Right, this is the problem. I want to do it. And then they are very open. I was lucky. I wrote this, just this, that I want to study, and I was given this opportunity. I mean, this is my reality. I can vouch for that.
That's impactful. That's really impactful. So, ma'am, talking further, could you talk about some of the building strategies or highlights of how I can actually build up my portfolio or profile or skill up myself for that respective role ahead?
So I don't think, Divya, that now students don't know about unit, right? Because it is there in their undergraduate course only, international trade law. People also know about WIPO now. People also know about International Chamber of Commerce because all of them form a part of the international trade law syllabus. People know about ICJ. People know about Vienna Convention. People know about SCCH. People know about Hague. People know about United Nations, and people also know their respective branches. Specifically in Delhi, we have for United Nations, and there are other intergovernmental agencies also, Asian African Consultative Organization, which is there in Delhi, then ICRER, then there's RIS, then there's CTIL and IIFT, which I just told, which has a Center for WTO Studies. So every nowadays people are really aware of these institutions. What they really lack is what's going on there and how to get into. And the interview part is difficult. Yes, it is very, very difficult. You need to study. For example, if I am appearing for an interview at a Ministry of Commerce, or I'm appearing for an interview at agency of Ministry of Commerce, or say a think tank like CTIL, I must know what is the foreign policy, A to Z, the foreign policy. Who is the DPI IIT is there, or which department handles it? What are the dignitaries? How it is done? Each and everything. You must be clear with your fundamentals in the stream that you are applying. More than sufficient for the interview. Nothing more.
So, these are some of the important skills that
Which
everybody
one
needs to know
skill?
about.
Very, very good. First, research skill. You have to master. There is no cut short. Second, you have to be very, very clear and good orator. So, oratory skill you need to pay attention. But that is required for every stream these days, I guess. Every stream.
Ma'am, students, those who are not from this background will not be knowing much about moot court. So, could you please highlight a little bit more on that?
Okay, let me just highlight it for a Lucknow or a Bihar Central University. Internet is everywhere, Divya. How would they not know something that they are studying? They would know about it. But say, even if they are not aware of it, they should request their professors. At least this much can be done by their professors to hold a research based seminar or a national and international conference. At least invite people. And I am ready. I have spoken, I have chaired the sessions, I have spoken at international conferences. So that can be very much achievable. So that should be done.
Right. The students, those who are not from this background
Moot
or
court,
possibly willing
yes,
to be.
they should. Henry Dunant, then the arbitration moot, negotiation, they should participate in these. They should participate in these.
Right. So, all for those who have been willing to pursue or are unaware about it, moot court is basically a stimulated court proceedings where the law students actually hypothetically practice the sessions
And
and
now
they
there
bring
are
up a case.
even mock United Nations, model United Nations. So you see how agendas are discussed, how dispute mechanisms work, dispute settlement understanding is doing working. So under
So, it's kind of
WTO,
a
this
dummy
time
court.
the WTO program, yes, yes, dispute DSU is also now. This is the first time in India it's happening, but this will start by now this year by a national law school. I should not disclose much. Let just that happen, and then
Right. So, everybody, for your knowledge and preference, a moot court is basically a trial court, a kind of a setup for the people those who have been studying up law and they can practice there. That's important, really important to actually develop your skills, which is also enhanceful for your overall procedures that we've been having.
okay, but a moot court is something which is important for the ones who are going on to the litigation side. Moot court is what? What you argue before the court of law. Minus the evidence, the way you argue and the way you research is all your moot court. So, unlike what is the general procedure in litigation, over there are certain courtroom manners, plus how you argue a particular draft moot problem which is given to you. And this is a very good way to improve your argumentation and research skills. At Ansal University, I have held almost bi monthly intercollegiate and intramural moot court competitions which faculties can do, and weekly research and argumentation seminars. I've done that. This should be inculcated in the law schools. I'm very pro to that.
Ma'am, as we have already discussed a lot of factors of how to practice and how to build up the skill, can you highlight some of the few flaws or things that the children usually mistaken to do while they have been into the practice or when they're pursuing this particular subject?
Uh, Things that I have recently as a judge for the moot court, what I have come across is lack of knowledge, A, lack of courtroom manners, B, and a little bit of arrogance. Avoid just these three things, and never question back. Out of curiosity, you many times question back, never question back with anybody. Even in the interview or in a moot court setting, never question back. Now, apart from that, in building, given the context of building a career in international law, do not chase only degree, beta. No matter the best, you are the topper. And this is also true. Topper of one of the best law school right now is not, I would not say is not doing anything, is right now not that active as one of the very ordinary, and I'm talking about 10 years back, somebody who passed out 10 years back, ordinary person, and she is a very renowned advocate at Patna High Court. And she only has discussed me. We were discussing. We were sitting through in one of in her chambers one day, and her name is Advocate Bela Singh, a wonderful, wonderful advocate. Advocate Bela Singh and Advocate Rajiv Ranjan Singh. They passed out from a very good national law school, and they told me often the experiences and the skills that you make out in course of your experience that matter more than degree. So always, work experience matters more than that. Ignoring research, that is one big flaw which you should avoid. Then yes, you should build your network. Networking is, but it is something which is a necessary evil for you people these days. You can't do without networking. We are not in a well these days. You are open and you have to build network. That is very, very good. Applying randomly without clarity, which is written, yes. You have to find the course which is relevant. You have to identify it with the subject of your interest and only apply. And no internship strategy. That is also. If you have been interning, probably you would land up as a job in the top law firms over here. This is my advice to you.
That's the power of interning, actually. You get to
Yes.
know the practical approach of it without getting into it before that. So
Yes.
you need to plan, prepare, and progress. So, ma'am, we have heard a lot of things from you talking about how you're building up a profile or maintaining and learning about it. What is your initiative in this regard? Could you mention how you have actually taken up this ahead, or how are you teaching up the students? So, any of your initiatives would you like to highlight about?
My personal initiative is always to improve students in research methodology. Even at the undergraduate level, I make sure that people know what they are doing. So, Just Callum as an initiative was something which, as a seedling of a thought, which came up when almost 10 or 15 of my students asked me, ma'am, now we have completed our undergraduate degree. How do you suggest? Where should we go? Every time, ma'am, you are from Queen Mary University of London, please tell us. And I suggested them at that time, I had no research. I suggested them IPC. Then there were other places that they went and then said, ma'am, other places, not IPC, but other places, they are charging us this. I said, for what? They said, for writing an SOP, for doing how to teach us IELTS. I said, really? They said yes. So I thought that enough is enough. I have spent almost 2 years just for finding out my internship, just for finding out a good course. Because in the period I was not only looking for LLM, I also got a full-fledged MRes at University of Glasgow, not once but twice, in 2013 and in 2014. Unfortunately, my father died in 2014, so I never could do that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have found me in India also. And then there was also another international relations at Goldsmiths, University of London. So after having researched so much, it becomes almost like a key. It is not very easy, but it feels like a key that, okay, you put the key, you open the door and you know where to go. So at least it is like that. So I started this initiative, Just Callum, which is now handled by my husband. The only thing which I offer over here is a whole lined up resources for certified mediation, which I personally do, look out for disputes. And my husband does a full fledged identifying the courses, identifying the university, helping you with respect to the SOP, helping you with respect to the TOEFL. So Just Callum is a good initiative because we do not charge anything. It is 0%. You come up with a query that you want to get admission in this particular stream, you end up with an admission. And we have an official collaboration. That is also, which was something which was offered straight away to my husband. We never went for that. And we have a collaboration with IPC Delhi with regards to that. And we
Oh,
made it
that's really good.
specifically a point that we will not be charging one single penny for that. So this is my initiative.
That's really nice. It's really nice. So everybody pursuing further or looking forward to actually know more about international law can contact ma'am, and you can search about Just Callum and you will get to know much more about it. Right. The details
Just
for
Callum
regarding
is right
contacting her.
now in building process. They have their yearly upgradation, but you can always contact me at Aditi Prasad Sinha. Always contact me on my link.
Ma'am is available on LinkedIn, so you can actually search her name, contact her, message her. We'll share her details, contact details in the chat box once by the end of the session, so everybody can know much better about it, get to know about it, because the insights that ma'am have shared today, it's very very impactful, and it's great for children to know these kinds of things because actually ma'am has gone through all of this, so she can practically know and guide you much better in this approach. So,
Thank you.
ma'am,
Thank you so
it's
much.
really, really, really nice to hear from you. And coming to we're just about to end with our session. Let's take one of the comments that we have from the chat, uh, and then we can proceed further to the end. Tariffs are one of the great model examples of how countries use trade policies to protect their own industries and influence international relations. So, your highlights on this, ma'am.
Okay, Bindya, let me tell you, beta, when this word tariff never existed, there was something known as trade autarkies. Before that, there's something known as lex mercatoria or law merchant, which used to be a part of medieval times. At the time when father of modern economics was born, in 1776 or 71, I do not remember the year. Sorry, I'm not a computer. He wrote, the father of modern economics, Adam Smith, wrote Wealth of Nations, Inquiry into Nature of Wealth of Nations. And he criticized mercantilism. Mercantilism was the first time when this word tariff in the metaphor verb form appeared as trade autarkies. Mercantilism was basically accumulate lots and lots of gold in your own country by selling your products in other country. And when the other merchants from other countries would come to your country, make a trade autarky barrier on your border to stop those products from entering into your country. And this was the reason why, if every country does that, there will be a tension at every border. That is why Adam Smith introduced Wealth of Nation, the theory of absolute advantage. Divya, you can also tell the year. I forgot the year. Probably 1776 or 1771. I do not remember.
Ma'am, 1776 it is.
1776 it is?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm getting old these days. So trade tariff came when GATT was signed, beta. But trade autarky way before that.
And with the wealth of knowledge that you have, I don't think that you are getting old anytime sooner. So, talking about the wealth of nations, as ma'am highlighted, this is really important masterpiece for economic analysis. Children should go through it, know about it, and search more about it to enhance their further knowledge. So, ma'am, your last take on it before we take up another comment that we have. Beautiful mission, ma'am. Thank you for your efforts and guidance.
You're welcome, sweetheart. You're welcome.
Okay, so we have another one coming. Sona has been mentioned. Thank you for the great mission, ma'am. Marks alone do not guarantee success. Practical skills, meaningful experiences, continuous learning, and internship matter for more, far more in the longer run. So that's actually true.
Okay. Divya wants one last statement. I'll give you one last statement. Growing up as a child in a city spanned by borders of Bihar, My only wish was to become a singer and want to get married to Salman Khan. But if an ordinary person like me can land up at an internship at Unidro at Rome, why can't you?
Actually, true.
This is my last sentence.
True, very nice one. So I think that's a piece of advice for everyone. Please believe in yourself. Think that the world is way ahead than your thoughts. It all depends
Each
upon your
and
mindset.
every one of you are more powerful than you think, and it is an incumbent on you to use that power for the benefit of society.
Right. And it is completely our power how you want to use it, or completely waste it. So, ma'am, let's come up to the last. So, if could you conclude a mind map or a roadmap for students? How do they perceive the overall journey for the international law?
Very easy. Choose your specialization, build your profile with good research, good publication, good paper presentation, shortlist a good country based on your economic status and your marks and everything, apply simultaneously for a scholarship, and the moment you enter, try start networking, end up in internship, and then start working globally. This is how it should be.
Beautiful, beautiful. How impactful, and it's truly eye opening. It's very important for everybody to know the journey, the process, and you can contact ma'am for further details as well. And please do follow the roadmap because it's a long journey, but yes, of course, it is by step that you can move forward. So without
If
knowing,
you
you
have
might fall.
any confusion, you can reach out to me anytime. No problem.
Yeah.
Just message me on.
So anybody willing to know much about it, it's very important for us to be knowing the road journey, because step by step, if you have been actually not been clear, you might fall, and that is going to be end of a journey without being knowing much about it. So that's really important for us to know the whole process. And ma'am has beautifully highlighted the overall journey from the very beginning, the basis of how a child can apply for it, to the end, how they can actually pursue their dreams, what of reaching wherever they wish to. Any last message, ma'am, from your end?
Okay. People think that I would talk about law, I would talk about international trade, I would talk about international law. My last message for you is to love your parents. You would never know when you would lose them. This is my last message.
I think they will be really proud of you, ma'am. So it's a long journey that you have come over, and I think your words of wisdom are actually a part of the thoughts and your experience and knowledge that you're sharing here. They'll be immensely proud of you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. It's really, really important. And the way you have guided everyone today, I think it's going to be really eye opening for the children, which is very important. Knowledge shared
Thank you.
is knowledge growing, and the heart and soul that you're given to this session, way children can connect with you, because the kind of curiosity that you had, I think the people who are watching it will definitely be actually attached to you more, because that's the energy that you pass on, which is very, very important as a viewer to understand, to know much, much better. And there was a keenness to keep hearing you, to keep hearing that what is coming up next. So much of knowledge and such a wide span of knowledge that you have actually shared. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So as we're coming to the end of the session, how this time has gone, even I don't know. I've been keeping hearing ma'am, and it was with so much of energy. But to all of you, those who have been watching, today we understood that international law is not just a subject. It's a field that connects laws with diplomacy, global peace, trade, human rights, and justice beyond borders. So, for this session that you have learned, students, please note what international law is, what career path exists, how to prepare and build up a roadmap, and how research can help you shape global legal careers. With this, we are really grateful to ma'am for being a true eye opener to the session and the kind of an energy that she has shared. We are really, really grateful to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me a platform for sharing my insights and experiences. I always want betterment of younger generation
Actually,
because
that,
you
that
are
your
our
words actually
future.
spoke, ma'am. Yeah, you actually your words have actually spoken that, and with the kind of enthusiasm that you've given to the students, I am definitely sure it is going to pass on to them.
Thank you.
So with this, as we come to the near end of the session, this powerful, impactful session for the international law, I would like to propose the final vote of thanks. for this enriching session. First and foremost, my heartfelt thank you to our esteemed guest, Mrs. Aditi Prasad Sinha. Ma'am, your guidance today has been completely informative and deeply empowering to the children, for sure. You made international law feel more approachable, achievable, and inspiring, and that's visible with the kind of messages and comments that we were getting, the questions that was being raised. It's definitely sure that it has reached to the children. The words have given our students not just knowledge but direction, and I'm sure they are going to take back this. It's going to be really insightful for those watching it in the future as well, not just for the ones who are attending today. And it's going to be a really a mind map, road map for them to reach up to what they wish for, because it's an untouched topic till now. People are not been aware about international law, so I think that's really important. And your valuable insights, experiences, and especially your valuable time, you have been non-stop speaking for that good amount of time, dedicatedly and with so much of energy that even I could not lower my energy. So that's really impactful, that's really noteworthy, and that's really applaud worthy, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and your presence and your experience. We are really grateful to
Thank,
you for today.
thank
So I would like to thank all the students, educators, viewers who have joined us live today. So your presence would be in completing the session, because it's very important for us to know much better about a particular topic, and it's always been important when your presence is being making the highlight of the event. So I would like to thank all the students, educators, viewers, teachers, professors who have joined us today. Your presence and participation made this session even more meaningful and impactful. And I think that's what the journey of Educational Connect all means to us. A special thanks to our technical team, supporters from behind the scenes for ensuring a smooth and successful live session, because a lot of process goes into it. And many of the times we are unaware about the journey, the process, which is very important. Right. And friends, before we sign off, I want to leave you with a thought. The world needs more lawyers. Yes, of course they do. But more than that, the world needs lawyers with global awareness, empathy, and a sense of justice beyond borders. So be true to yourself. If you can dream for working for international organizations, peace missions, global trade, human rights, climate justice, it's a key important topic these days, or mediation, international law can be your pathway. Keep learning, keep researching, and keep growing. This is Divya Mehra signing off for the session for today. Thank you everyone for joining.